It looks like a normal youth club with its table tennis and its television blaring. But these teenagers are a lucky few who have endured hardships few in Europe can even imagine. The latest to arrive here are probably the luckiest of all. To protect his identity, we are calling him JAMAL, and he was one of just 28 survivors from last weekend's deadly sinking in the Mediterranean. In Somalia, he told me, there is no happiness, only al-Shabaab. But what Jamal experienced at the hands of Libya's people traffickers was even worse.
The
problem we faced in Libya was mainly around the fact we had our money taken and we were beaten up very badly. Some individuals I know died of starvation. The trafficker didn't allow us to speak to our families. We weren't given any food and we were constantly beaten. One time the trafficking ring was uncovered and the boss man blamed it on a woman who he beat severely. She then came back to us. She was crying.
Eventually, Jamal was herded onto the trafficker's boat for the journey that would turn into disaster. He said the boat was so crowded that at one point he fell overboard and had to be dragged back in.
When we were on the ship, we had no food and no water, and I only had one fish. We travelled for a day with no water or food. Then we saw the ship from Europe.
And just as he thought they would be rescued, disaster struck.
I was with a friend who was hungry, so I shared my fish with him. But after yelling for help, we overturned and he died. I was underwater for 5 minutes thinking, Allah, Allah, Allah. And then I managed to swim to the surface. Me and 4 other guys shouted for help and we were rescued.
Hundreds of others weren't so lucky. The migrants had capsized in the dark, out at sea, and rescuers were working almost blind.
The sea is completely dark, and after just a few meters you can't see anything. The only thing we could see were the beams of light projected by the searchlights. We had to rely on what we could hear, listening out for the screams, to rescue any survivors.
Jamal feels nothing but bitterness towards the traffickers, who Jamal believes deliberately put the passengers in mortal danger. The migrant boat's captain and the ship's mate are now facing charges of reckless multiple homicide. But Jamal is already looking to the future.
God willing, I intend on bringing my parents over here. I'm working hard on that.
From what the survivors have now told us about what happened during Saturday's sinking disaster, it is truly remarkable that anybody actually managed to survive. And the matter-of-fact way with which they have described the circumstances of the rescue makes it clear that there is still deep psychological scars that they will have to cope with. But at least here in this former orphanage, they have the chance to build a new life. It's a chance that was denied to so many more hundreds on that fateful voyage. Paul Brennan, Al Jazeera, Catania, Sicily.